Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, Senate probes Works and Housing Ministry over unremitted 6 trillion naira, moves to institutionalize empowerment program. Department of State Services says plots to thwart transition and impose interim government thickens. Kano State Governor-elect rules out a role for wives and family members as Gawuna congratulates him on receipt of certificate of return. And on the foreign scene, Senegal's opposition says protests will continue as leader Sonko's trial set to resume. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. The news in detail. Senate President Ahmed Lawang has constituted a 7-member ad hoc committee to investigate the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing over 6 trillion naira unremitted ground rent accruable to the federal government. The composition of the panel was announced on the floor of the Senate during Wednesday's plenary. The report.
The Senate's decision to begin the probe followed a motion by Senator Abubakar Yusuf alleging that over 6 trillion naira ground rent due to the federal government is lying fallow in the hands of a few individuals in Nigeria. The lawmakers stressed the need to investigate activities of the Presidential Investigation Committee on the sale of all federal government properties.
Need to recover over 6 trillion naira ground rent due to federal government that is laying fallow in the hands of few individuals in Nigeria. Mr. President, the Senate notes that Section 49 subsection 1 and 51 subsection 2 of the Land Use Act vested ownership rights of the federal government over its land in state territories.
The Senate President, who named Senator Adamu Alero as chairman of the committee, mandated the panel to come up with comprehensive data of the federal government properties that are sold to the public under the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. Other members on the panel include Senator Sani Musa, Sam Egbu, Smart Adeyemi, Okpeyemi Bamidele, Betty Apiafia, and Abubakar Yusuf. The ad hoc committee has 1 month to report back for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the bill to institutionalize the National Social Investment Program passed through third reading and the Senate. The passage of the bill followed the presentation of the report of the Committee on Special Duties chaired by Senator Abubakar Yusuf. The executive bill was forwarded to the upper chamber for consideration by President Muhammadu Buhari in November 29, 2022. Presenting the committee's report, Senator Yusuf said the objective of the National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill is to provide a statutory framework for implementing the program. In his remarks, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawang, said the bill, having passed by the National Assembly, is a major landmark towards alleviating poverty in Nigeria.
No country, no society, no community can ever have peace or no peace without addressing the issues that affect its poor. No country. Some of the insecurity we face in Nigeria can be attributed to very high level of poverty. And the truth is, leaders at all levels have the obligation, not only federal government, have the obligation to work to ensure that we reduce or alleviate poverty amongst our citizens.
Recall that the National Social Investment Program was created in 2016 to address social-economic inequalities and alleviate poverty among Nigerians through 4 major social support programs.
The Department of State Services says it has now confirmed the plots by some political actors in the country to truncate the May 29 swearing-in of the president-elect and enthrone an interim government. The service described the political actors as misguided elements, saying during separate secret meetings they resolved to get court injunctions and sponsor violent protests in major cities of the country. DSS spokesman Peter Afunanya, in a statement, warns that anybody who proceeds with the plot will be severely dealt with, saying it is totally unacceptable in a democracy and the peace-loving Nigerians. The DSS, however, called on the stakeholders, particularly judicial authorities, media and civil societies, to be watchful and cautious to avoid being used as instruments to subvert peace and stability of the nation. President-elect Bola Tinubu has reiterated his commitment to the task of rebuilding the nation and renewing the hope of the Nigerian people. In his 71st birthday message to Nigerians, his first since his election in February, Tinubu said he campaigned hard for the election and the greatest gift given to him is the chance to lead the country and fulfill destiny. The president-elect, who personally signed the message, said the promises he made during electioneering were not mere words to win support, adding that they represent a bond that binds him to the task of creating a better Nigeria. He prayed that citizens find the right way and the courage to turn Nigeria into a strong, just and prosperous home for all. The Independent National Electoral Commission has presented a certificate of return to the Kano State Governor-elect Abba Kabir Yusuf alongside members-elect of the State House of Assembly. The NNPP candidate polled 1,019,602 votes to defeat the APC candidate Nasir Yusuf Gawuna, who garnered 890,705 votes. Receiving the certificate, the governor-elect calls on his co-contestants to join hands with him to rebuild the state, saying his wives and family members will have no role in his government. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports.
That was the INEC resident electoral commissioner in Kano issuing certificate of return to Abba Kabir Yusuf of the New Nigeria People's Party, who was recently declared the winner of March 11 governorship election in Kano. According to the governor-elect, the most important aspect of his victory at the moment is the development of Kano State by carrying everyone along, irrespective of their political loyalty.
The election period is over. It's now time for all of us to join hands together with a view to offering lasting solutions to a myriad of problems benefiting our dear state. To us in the NNPP, it is a no victory, no conflict.
While commending the Independent National Electoral Commission for ensuring free and fair election, the elected governor assured that his incoming administration intends to ensure meaningful development of Kano State across all sectors.
And we must work together to ensure that Kano regains its right to in education, healthcare, agriculture, commerce, and industrialization, water supply, security, and the environment.
Meanwhile, 40 members of the State Assembly have equally received their certificate of return, after which they promise to continue to ensure adequate representation of their people.
You see, thank God, during the campaign we have realized there are new challenges, more especially in terms of youth consciousness and self-employment. So, inshallah, we are going to do our best to make sure our youth are empowered, our people are truly and adequately represented.
Hundreds of party supporters stormed the INEC headquarters to witness the ceremony. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The All Progressives Congress governorship candidate and Kano State Deputy Governor Nasir Yusuf Gawuna has congratulated the governor-elect Abba Kabir Yusuf after the Independent National Electoral Commission presented a certificate of return to him. Gawuna and the APC had, after the declaration petition, given the electoral umpire a 7-day ultimatum to review the declaration and declared the election as inconclusive. INEC on Wednesday had issued the certificate of return to Yusuf, his deputy governor-elect, Aminu Abdulsalam, and 26 members-elect of the State House of Assembly. Yusuf had, upon receipt of his certificate, called on Gawuna to make true his earlier statements that he would accept the outcome of the election as the will of God, and called on him to issue a statement that confirms the earlier statement was not a ruse. Responding to this call, Gawuna, in an audio message shared by his chief press secretary, said he is praying that God will help Yusuf to be a true and just leader for all. Similarly, Benue State Governor-elect Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia and members-elect of the State House of Assembly on Wednesday received their certificates of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission. At a ceremony in Makudi, the governor-elect reiterated his commitment to making Benue State a better place for citizens. Jimmy Adzande was there and now reports.
Governor-elect Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, his deputy Sam Ode, alongside 32 members-elect for the Benue State House of Assembly and their supporters were all elected for the opportunity to serve the Benue people. The party also promised to play oversight roles in line with the manifesto of the All Progressives Congress, APC.
We are not taking this for granted. First of all, need to get the ruling table, the drawing table, to make our civil service work. Civil service is the engine of society, and things it's stable. It has to be very functional before we move to every other thing. So that's going to be the number one thing on the desk.
He looked into the party's manifesto and developed that of his. And he has put before you on the front banner the issue of civil service as his #1 priority to make the state work again, considering the fact that Benue is a civil service state. So the party will give him all necessary support.
The elected officers in the 2023 general elections took turns to receive the certificates presented by the Resident Electoral Commissioner, the National Commissioner overseeing Benue State at the Commission.
Section 72, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act makes it mandatory that the Independent National Electoral Commission shall issue a sealed certificate of return to every person who has been elected as a governor, deputy governor, and as a member to the State Assembly. And the law obligates us to issue these particular certificates within a period of 14 days after they are having been declared duly elected by the various returning officers. So on that note, I want to say more that you are welcome. Why you are on my seat? God bless you all.
The Assembly members-elect, on their part, pledged their commitment to the upliftment of their constituents, especially the youth population.
I believe it's a burden that will lay on me. I feel that we are supposed to carry every youth along as far as policy making is concerned, because a whole lot of the policies that have been made by the previous government have no room nor space for the youth.
Meanwhile, Governor Samuel Otom has already set in place a team to ensure a smooth transition come May 29, 2023.
The Kwara State Governor, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, has received his certificate of return following his victory at the March 18 governorship polls, and assured Kwarans that he will remain responsive and empathetic to the yearnings of the citizens as he has always been. The governor received his certificate of return alongside the Deputy Governor, Kayode Alabi, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Yakubu Saliu Danladi, and other members-elect. The governor, after receiving his certificate, said it represents the collective decision of the people to push forward the agenda for sustainable development in Kwara State.
The electoral process. In 1999, all you need to do is to add a 0 to a 10 at the collation center and you have 100 votes. That's not possible today.
in 1999 and thereafter, you withhold results from one local government and put the final result and bring in a tally from the last local government to obtain the election. That, in Beavers, is not possible today. So I say, well done to INEC for doing a very good job. Without the security agencies, this election would not have happened. They did a yeoman's job. We thank them and congratulate them also for doing a good job indeed. This certificate presentation represents a collective decision of our people to push forward our agenda for sustainable development in Kwara State. It symbolizes the trust in our efforts to build a state in which everyone has equal stakes.
It's a pleasure for me to be here to witness this epoch-making event. The elections that brought the success of these ladies and gentlemen will go down in history as one of the finest elections ever conducted in Nigeria. We are proud to say so unequivocally, because it was not only successful but very peaceful.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says it remains committed to the standard conduct of elections where the outcome will reflect the will of the masses. National Commissioner in charge of Oyo, Ekiti and Lagos states, Sam Olumekun, gave this assurance in Ibadan during the issuance of certificates of return to governors and House of Assembly members-elect, where he reaffirmed the Commission's determination to be guided by extant and relevant laws. The report.
The Deputy Governor of Oyo State, His Excellency Barrister Abdurrahim Adebayo Lawal.
It's an event held in consonance with the provisions of Section 72 of the Electoral Act 2022, which mandates INEC to issue certificate of return within 14 days to every candidate who had been duly elected under the law. 32 House of Assembly members-elect were presented with the documents backing up their quest to represent their constituencies. INEC officials at the event reaffirmed their commitment to credible polls.
The task of building a strong, sustainable democratic ethos cannot be carried out alone by the Commission without the support of all various stakeholders in the electioneering process. I therefore use this medium once again to urge all the stakeholders, especially the political class and security agencies, to continue to support the Commission efforts at ensuring lasting democratic process in the country, especially in Oyo State.
We remain committed to doing our job professionally. In every contest, there must be a winner. All the political parties that contested in this election, the People's Democratic Party was singled out and given a total of 573,756 votes. 563,756 votes. This is the highest number of votes in the election. The party equally had the mandatory spread in all the 20 local government areas of the state. The margin of lead principle of the political party with the highest votes scored in the poll was comfortable to present a clear winner in the election.
High point of the event was the issuance of certificates of return to the governor-elect Seyi Makinde and his deputy Bayo Lawal.
Now is for us to face the task of governance. It's for us to face this task of building a state that will be an envy for all the states in Nigeria. It's a time for us to redouble our efforts towards taking our people from poverty to prosperity. It is a day to reflect on the decision of the people of Oyo State. A day to acknowledge all the people that have contributed one way or the other towards making today a success.
Of the 32 House of Assembly seats, the People's Democratic Party won 28, while the All Progressive Congress got 4.
President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn in Solomon Arase as new chairman of the Police Service Commission. The swearing in of the former Inspector General of Police preceded the meeting of the Federal Executive Council on Wednesday. It comes 2 months after the Senate confirmed him as chairperson of the PSC. Kehinde Amodu reports.
President Buhari had forwarded Arase's name to the Senate for confirmation, in line with sections 153 subsection 1 and 154 subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. It is not surprising that the former police chief got the nod of the Senate. Arase, 65, who retired in 2016, was the 18th indigenous Inspector General of Police from April 2015 to June 2016. He has an uphill task ahead of him, but the first big assignment is to smoothen relations between the Commission and the police top hierarchy.
If you look at the caliber of people you have in the Commission, then you also look at the professional skills of the police management team. There is no way that there will be no occasionally these issues. But what I think we should do, each of the parties should not learn to take everything. There must be negotiation, there must be empathy, there must be respect, for each of our spaces. I will expect that the Commission will allow the Inspector General of Police to exercise its operational control over the Nigerian Police Force, and that the IG himself will respect, the constitutional powers, the police force.
The former IGP is also looking at tackling corruption in the police force from the source.
As an Inspector General of Police, the way I looked at issue of corruption was to identify it from the source. When you tackle issues that are likely to affect, the tendencies to be corrupt, you deal with the issues. Welfare. How are you taking care of their welfare? How are you ensuring that when they retire, they have a decent house to go to? How do you take care of their children? Can we organize scholarship scheme for their children? Can we ensure that when we deploy them, they have, the necessary equipments, to work with? There must be empathy.
There's also the niggling problem of indiscipline, which has not only affected the image of the police, but its relationship with society.
I would not want a situation where civil transactions are criminalized. So any officer who, steps out of the line, there are going to be consequences. But at the same time, they are my colleagues and children. So I'm going to make sure that I sharpen their skills. I make them to start having self-confidence in themselves. With more training, the trust gap between members of the public and the police, will be breached.
The new chairman of the Police Service Commission must take a leaf from his predecessors if he is to successfully maneuver through the many pitfalls of his new office. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
And with this, we'll move on to security, where bandits have reportedly demanded 200 million naira as ransom to release the 56 farmers abducted in Adunu, Kwagana and adjoining communities in Paikoro local government area of Niger State. Residents said the bandits called on Tuesday to inform them that one of the abductees had been killed and threatened to kill more people if the ransom is not paid in time. The abductees, comprising women, children and men, had so far spent 3 weeks in captivity. Residents say since the attack on Catholic Church, Kafinkoro, during which Reverend Father Isaac Achi was gruesomely burned to death, attacks had become incessant. When contacted, the Niger Police Command Public Relations Officer, Deputy Superintendent Wasiu Abiodun, said efforts were ongoing in collaboration with the military tactical teams towards ensuring the rescue of the victims from captivity. Chinese national Frank Geng Quarong accused of killing his girlfriend, Kulsum Bahari in Kano, has admitted using a knife to stab her to death. Kwarong made the confession before Justice Sanusi Ado-Maji of the State High Court during his ongoing murder trial. While being cross-examined by senior state counsel Aisha Mahmood, the defendant told the court that he came to Nigeria in 2019 working for a textile company where they had joined 1.5 million naira as his monthly salary. To support his claim of spending over 60 million naira for the deceased, Frank told the court that he has other sources of income apart from the textile firm. Defense counsel Balarabe Dang Azumi has sought leave of the trial judge to bring a witness to testify in the trial. Justice Ado-Maji adjourned the matter to Thursday for continuation of trial. The Federal Road Safety Corps in Bauchi State has confirmed the death of 5 persons in a ghastly motor accident in Panshanu village along Bauchi-Jos Highway. The sector commander, Yusuf Abdullahi, disclosed this in a road traffic crashes report made available to newsmen on Wednesday in Bauchi. He said the accident occurred when 2 vehicles had a head-on collision and caught fire, adding that 5 persons were burnt beyond recognition. He said the accident, which involved one Toyota Hiace bus and Peugeot J5 Boxer vehicle, happened at Panshanu village in Toro local government area of the state. Abdullahi said the accident happened when a tire from one of the cars busted and the driver lost control. He said both corpses and the vehicles were handed over to the police in Toro local government area. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, promoting healthy menstrual cycle. Stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a recap of our major stories. You heard that Senate probes Works and Housing Ministry over unremitted 6 trillion naira moves to institutionalize empowerment program. You also heard that Department of State Services says plots to thwart transition and impose interim government thickens. Moving on to health, medical experts have attributed the rising cases of chickenpox among residents of Osun State in recent times to the weather condition. Chickenpox is a viral infection that is highly contagious, causing itching and rash on the skin and could affect both children and adults. But there is a growing concern as persons affected by chickenpox shun hospitals and opt for local herbs for treatment. Hamid Oyegbade, who was recently affected but has been successfully treated, files in this report.
The infection hit Osun State between February and March with many residents affected. Medical doctors in both public and private hospitals in the state confirmed an upsurge in cases of chickenpox in the state. Meanwhile, most residents prefer to treat chickenpox with local herbs rather than the orthodox medicine.
I was in the house. I was not feeling fine. I was feeling heavy. And luckily, because I stayed in the same compound with Chief Mrs. Elebuban, who is a traditionalist naturally, she looked at me and she was like, young man, you're feeling sick. And I told her, yes, I'm feeling sick. And she just said, you have chicken pox. So although it has not manifest physically in your face, but I can see traces in it. So and she just come with me. I went to her. She prepared some traditional condiment and said some certain things with the head of a gin, and she spread it on my face, all around on my head. And she was like, just go and rest. Before you wake up, it will have eased off.
I've been a sufferer of it, and I know treating that condition traditionally is far more efficient and has proven to be better than going to hospital to be treated in orthodox way. And if you say treating it traditionally, what are those things that are needed? There are herbs. The major thing that is used in the treatment of smallpox traditionally is bitter leaf palm wine. And what they do, they squeeze out the water, you drink it and use palm wine to rub the places where you are feeling manifestation of smallpox.
A medical doctor, Olusegun Olomola, urged those affected to go to hospitals for proper treatment.
There is no way you can avoid medical management. Going to the hospital is okay. So even applying traditional care is of no benefit as well. Because what the disease entails sometimes doesn't respond to even treating the virus itself, but the symptoms and the problems they bring. You manage it medically, and so all those things you need to treat it medically, actually at the hospital. The viral infection itself might take a few times and then disappear, get resolved.
Stakeholders say there is need for government through the Ministry of Health to make chickenpox vaccine available for people to prevent its spread. Amid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
Thank you, Hamid. We do hope you're on the mend and sincerely wish you a quick recovery. Now moving on, Nigerian Meteorological Agency predicts possibility of thermal discomfort across some cities in the country during the holy month of Ramadan. NIMET listed Gombe among states at risk of experiencing high thermal discomfort. Despite the hot weather condition, commercial motorcycle riders who are fasting in the holy month spend hours operating across the city to put food on the table. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
This is a typical workday for commercial riders at the popular New Mile 3 joint, Gombe Metropolis. Temperatures here is 37 centigrade. These Okada operators defy the scorching sun to navigate the city and get money to feed their families during Iftar and Sahur this Ramadan. I have a wife and a son. I can't be idle. I must struggle. I work the whole hours of the day up to 2 a.m. For me, the heat is not too much. It is normal. To be honest, the heat has reduced these days. It has been cloudy and there is little breeze. Meanwhile, some of the Okada riders are strategic in their operations during the fasting period, taking few hours break to have some relief from the scorching sun. We resume 6 a.m. in the morning, take a break by 12 noon, and resume after Zuhr prayers. While others resume after 4 p.m. and close during Iftar. While Okada riders struggle in the harsh weather, tricycle operators say they feel a little better in the tricycle shed. Our work condition is better than that of those operating a motorcycle because the tricycle has a shed. For Nigerians who are fasting in the holy month to mitigate the impact of this harsh weather condition, medical experts and Nigeria Meteorological Agency advise people to drink a lot of water after breaking of the fast. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
A civil rights organization, Resource Center for Human Rights and Civic Education, has called on those whose rights were violated during the just concluded presidential, National Assembly governorship and state assembly elections to seek redress by writing petitions to local and international bodies. Executive Director of the Rights Group, Ibrahim Zikrillahi, who gave the charge at a press conference on the state of the nation in Abuja, also asked Nigerians to hold the Central Bank of Nigeria liable for the lives lost due to the ongoing cash crunch in the country. Trust TV's Shafi'u Suleiman reports.
Reviewing the outcome of the 2023 elections, the group says Nigerians' hope for a credible exercise on the basis of application of technology was dashed by the Independent National Electoral Commission's inability to deliver on its promise, giving room for manipulation by desperate politicians who in some cases deployed violent means to realize their objectives.
From the video that are flying and from reports all over, we have seen where citizens were violated and the security look away. So we are saying here, if we will get a copy of the test, we said those ones, if authority fails to take action, they should petition national and international bodies.
Speaking on the struggling economic situation in the country, Executive Director of the Right Group says Nigerians should hold the central bank responsible for the devastating consequences arising from the implementation of the cashless policy, just as he accused the government and the Apex Bank of ignoring early warnings and advice.
It became impossible for Nigerians to access their own money for the first time in recent memory. Consequently, numerous businesses that were already operating in a hostile environment failed. Unfortunately, the businesses in the informal sector have been hit the hardest. The lack of cash meant that these businesses were entirely wiped out, leaving many more Nigerians without jobs and livelihood opportunities.
Zikrillah says while the central bank made efforts to address the challenges faced by Nigerians due to the policy implementation, compensation must be paid to those whose lives and livelihoods were affected by what he called an ill-conceived monetary policy. Shafi'u Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Some political parties at the just concluded general elections in Bauchi State have faulted the Independent National Electoral Commission for alleged irregularities which they say led to the cancellations of results at various polling units across the state. The party stated this at separate interviews with Trust TV as they prepared to seek redress at the election tribunals. Adamu Imam reports.
The political parties regarded as a third force who were hoping to undo the dominance of the major parties in Nigerian politics during the just concluded 2023 general elections criticized INEC for not responding to their demands at the coalition centers. The Zenith Labour Party and Young Progressive Party says the election was not free nor fair, especially during governorship and state assembly elections.
It's improper because we realize that yes, there is this issue of parties that want to appear in the governorship ballot paper, but still they are counted at the result sheet. I don't know how manage this thing appear. We raised an observation, we raised an issue, we deliberated, but yet they say we should review later and the winner declare.
Yeah, it's an allegation, and there are things that I have witnessed by myself. My director campaign is casting his vote in what do they call it? Salebanga. If you see how people there, how some party agents are doing, is so obvious. They came out with money, openly buying vote from the voters. And the policemen are there. They are not saying anything.
For the Labour Party, members said there were no irregularities while monitoring the election process in their areas.
The history of Bauchi, let me just say, I've never seen an election that was so arranged and organized in Bauchi State. I'm speaking for Bauchi State because I went around. The election was peaceful. I have gone around, I have not witnessed anywhere there is vote buying. And after the collation, I was there in the INEC office. I didn't see and I did not witness any overvoting in any of the polling unit or in the local government.
Meanwhile, political analyst in the state says despite noticeable lapses, INEC organized an commendable election, especially as some incumbents lost their state to opposition parties.
And so on and so forth. So many governors lost their ambition to contest for senatorial seats. So many governors, sitting governors were overthrown. This is to show you that whether we like it or not, we are making headway. I cannot say that is a perfect election ever, but to some extent, we are making headway.
The Bauchi Police Command and INEC in the state were not forthcoming on allegations of improper conduct by their personnel during the just concluded elections. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
The House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill seeking to repeal and enact the Standards Organization of Nigeria Act with provisions to increase penalties for offences relating to the standardization of products in Nigeria. The bill contains provisions to criminalize the production, manufacturing, importation, distribution, display, advertising for sale, or in any way dealing in substandard and life-endangering products. The report.
The Standard Organization of Nigeria was established by Act No. 56 of 1971. Apart from developing, coordinating, or otherwise contributing to the usefulness of technical standards, the amendment seeks to impose a custodial sentence of 5 years without an option of fine for defaulters. The bill also mandates the organization to publish annually products deemed as life-endangering and proposes a 50% increment across board for all fines under the All Acts to align with current economic realities. Also, the power granted to the organization in the All Act to destroy hazardous goods without an order from the court was expurged.
That a bill for an act to repeal the Standards Organization of Nigeria Act, Chapter S9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Standards Organization of Nigeria Bill 2002 for the purpose of providing additional functions for the organization, increasing penalty for violation and for related matters. HB 2169, we read the second time. I so propose, Mr. Speaker.
Away from that, the House urged the Chief of Defense and Army Staff to commence a comprehensive investigation of the assaults on residents of Boko and gates of All Band Hotel, Boko, by men of 401 Special Forces Brigade of the Nigerian Army. In a motion sponsored by Representative Magbila, the House is worried that the same team of soldiers was allegedly responsible for the extrajudicial killing of at least 2 persons in Boko in 2 separate instances of the same day.
The Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Army Staff should be summoned to appear before the House to explain how their members, their men of the army, are not trained appropriately with rules of engagement in civilized civilian communities and have resorted to attacking people. And finally, Mr. Speaker, this same team of the 401 Special Brigade are alleged to have killed 2 people for allegedly snatching ballot boxes. Mr. Speaker, I do not want us to set a precedence in this country where men of the military can kill extrajudicially for the sake of ballot box. I do not see any crime that requires a death sentence.
In another development, the House considered the report of the Conference Committee on a bill for an act to establish the National Center for the Coordination and Control of the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons in Nigeria. The House also considered the report of the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Eastern Obolo, Akwa Ibom State, and for related matters therein.
Parents have been admonished to educate and sensitize their children on menstrual hygiene and safety measures to enable them overcome the challenges that come with menstruation. Representatives of a non-governmental organization gave the admonition while distributing sanitary pads to over 300 female secondary students of Government Girls Secondary School in Yola. Salis Lawang has the report.
The benefiting students were between the ages of 15 to 20, while the sensitization centered on personal hygiene.
Our mission is to create a space for a woman to be empowered through skill acquisition, through seminars, through trainings, and lots more. And our principal aim is to give a woman, a lady, a financial freedom. Personal hygiene includes a lot of things, but let's go to the main ones, the primary ones. Number one, it includes brushing your teeth, taking your bath regularly. That's 2 times in a day, right?
They explain that the surge in the price of sanitary pads and the general economic situation of the country necessitated the distribution of sanitary pads to the girls.
We are here to donate pads to these young girls so that they can be able to, we can be able to help them and then teach them on how to take care of their personal hygiene and how to use these sanitary pads and how to dispose it.
In fact, I'm very, very happy because this is a very nice program. I wish the program was even started earlier than this, because this is a girls' school. And the students, they will soon become women, of which they will be in their husband's house.
While appreciating the gesture, some of the benefiting students said they usually miss classes due to their inability to afford the sanitary pads on their own and pledged to step down the knowledge gain to other girls.
It will help a lot because as now pad is very expensive and it's hard to get money to buy, and it will reduce financial burdens on my parents.
They taught us personal hygiene is taking care of our body, and it includes of like to brush our teeth, bath regularly, and as a girl, as a woman, I need to take my bath 2 to 3 times in a day. And they also taught us something about our menstrual period, how to keep our menstrual tracks, and also how to take care of myself during my menstrual cycle.
Stakeholders lauded the effort of the donors, saying it was a good gesture that is worth emulating. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after this short break.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has barred banks and other financial institutions seeking a conversion license from expanding or reducing their current banking network in its new draft guidelines. The CBN discloses this in a circular to banks and other financial institutions titled Regulatory Guidelines for Change of Operational License for Banks and Other Financial Institutions in Nigeria. The draft was signed by the Director, Financial Policy and Regulation Department, Chibuzo Efobi. The circular stated that under the guidelines, eligible banks and OFIs applying for conversion or recategorization shall not, pending when the application is determined, expand or reduce its current banking network. The CBN stated that due to increasing requests for financial institutions to either upgrade or convert to other license regimes, the draft guidelines aim to provide clarity to eligible financial institutions on regulatory requirements. Ghana's move to restructure most of its public debt, estimated at 576 billion cedis and equivalent of $49 billion, is weighing on banks from the UK to Nigeria. The West African nation exchanged 87.8 billion cedis of notes that paid an average of 19%, with bonds returning as little as 8.35%, resulting in losses for financial institutions. Four of Africa's biggest lenders, Standard Bank Group Limited, First Round Limited, Absa Group Limited, and NetBank Group Limited, collectively set aside $267 million to account for the losses, impairing as much as 57% of local and onshore dollar-denominated debt holdings. Impairment losses at Societe Generale SA's Ghana unit jumped more than eightfold to 284.7 million cedis last year, according to unaudited annual account on its website. Meanwhile, Standard Chartered PLC set aside $160 million. Zenith Bank PLC, Nigeria's biggest lender by market value, says it has set aside 123.4 billion naira, representing $267 million, in part to account for its holdings of bonds in Ghana as the nation restructures its debt. And finally, in stocks, the Nigerian equity market on Wednesday bounced back from 4 straight sessions of decline as the all-share index grew by 0.90% to settle at 53,603.80 points. Investors gained 261 billion naira as the market capitalization was up by 0.90% to close at 29.201 trillion naira. The market breadth closed positive as 22 equities appreciated in price against 14 that declined in their share prices. An aggregate of 236 million units of shares were traded in 3,906 deals valued at 3.26 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Wafo.
Away from Nigeria, the Senegalese opposition announced on Tuesday that it would push ahead with demonstrations in Dakar on Wednesday and Thursday, despite a ban. Meanwhile, authorities say they have arrested 4 members of a group seeking to prevent the resumption of the trial of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko by sowing chaos and insurrection. Attorney General Ibrahima Bakhoum said the group had produced explosives and put the stability of the country at stake. Tensions are rising ahead of Sonko's trial later this week in a defamation case that could make him ineligible to contest next year's presidential election. Sonko and his supporters accused the government of using the justice system to prevent him from running in February 2024. And finally, let's now join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
Nigerian female cricket team on Tuesday subdued hard-fighting Cameroonian ladies with a 7-wicket victory at Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, in a match-day 2 encounter at the ongoing Women's T20 International Cricket Invitational Tournament. Cameroon won the toss and opted to bat first, as opening batters Madeline Laura and Michelle Solange proved a hard nut to crack for Nigerian bowlers. After their partnership was broken, subsequent batters fell easily for Nigerian bowlers. Cameroon made a low total of 58 runs, all out in 20 overs. In the second inning, Nigerian openers Favour Esegbe and Esther Sunday lost their wicket early, which led to both being dismissed due to poor shot selection. Agatha Odaile and Salome Sunday helped Nigeria to bat well with a strike rate of 100. Nigeria made 60 runs in 7.4 overs, recording an impressive 7.83 runs rate compared to Cameroon's 2.90 runs rate. Favour Esegbe won the Player of the Match award for dismissing 3 opponents' wickets. Meanwhile, Sierra Leone defeated Ghana in the second match of the day by 7 wickets, 67-10 and 68-3 respectively, with Sierra Leone's Alice Philly winning MVP after 3 dismissals. And in football, As the 2023 Nigerian Premier Football League reaches the second stanza, the Interim Management Committee, IMC, has started preparations for the proposed Super Six. IMC have lined up MK Abiola Stadium Abuja and Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos as the two proposed venues for Super Six to determine the winner of the league. The competition will come up immediately after the regular league season to meet up with the continental representatives in CAF competitions. Rivers United, competing in the Confederation Cup, is the defending champions of the league, having emerged as winner last season. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with sports news, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thank you for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.